Can everyone hear me? Okay. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me? Back? Can you hear me now?
Sorry?
Bit louder? It's on. Can you hear me now?
Turn it up. Talking.
Test, test, 1, 2, 3. There we go. Yay. Okay. It's on. So, welcome to Wordcamp Sydney 2019. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. There's been a lot of work put into this over many months, and it, I guess, wouldn't be possible without you, the attendees, so thank you. So I'm just going to quickly go through some things you need to know just to kick off the day. We're running a little bit behind with some technical difficulties, but that's okay. So who was here last year? Show of hands. Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're in a different building. But the same one as 2016. Coffee, we've got coffee coupons. We do have filter coffee out in the kitchen over on the right, but we've got coffee coupons to get barista coffee upstairs. They like that. So they'll be open from this morning up until the afternoon break. We've got the schedule. We haven't yet printed it and put it on the doors, but that will happen very soon. The schedule for the most up-to-date version will be online. So you can just go to our website, /schedule, and it's right there. We've also got the code of conduct up there. If you want to report any violations of the code of conduct, there's also a form there to do that as well. Toilets. So there's some toilets just out this door here, the left from the other left, from outside, and upstairs in the cafe as well. Please keep your valuables safe. We're in a public space, and it's shared with students and the public, so keep them safe. Wi-Fi, probably the most important slide. So it's a little bit different this year. There's no individual login like last year. It's a bit nicer this year. So the network is, take a photo of it. The network is UTS guest, and then a registration screen will pop up. Don't register. There's a little button called attend a conference. Click here, and then you can enter the password. Ask one of the green shirts if you have trouble. Everyone got their photos? Great. Our hashtag. So please post online, take pictures, take videos, post it online and use this hashtag. I think last year we had a trending hashtag in Sydney, so that was pretty cool. So post, post, post. I know that's not a green shirt, but we couldn't find one. It's green now. So volunteers and organisers are all wearing green shirts. If you have a question, need some help with something, need something answered, just ask one of us, and either they'll help you or they'll find someone who can help you. So this year we've got 5 organisers and a whole lot, maybe I think 5 or 10 other volunteers. I can't remember how many, but we've got a lot of volunteers. This conference is not possible without volunteers. None of us are getting paid. We all donate our time. Some of us organisers have donated over, I think, 500 or 600 hours this year. each. And the speakers aren't getting paid as well. No one gets paid. This conference is for you. We put it on for the community, and we hope that you get some good value out of it. This event is also not possible without our sponsors. So I don't know if you've noticed, but the ticket price is very cheap. The cost per person is actually over $240, and the tickets are only $70. So it's a huge, huge discount, and without our sponsors, that's not possible. So our main event sponsor, we run under Linux Australia. They give us bank accounts, they help us with insurance, and run the whole event pretty much for us in terms of budget stuff. And thank you, Linux Australia. Our gold sponsors, so we've got Kinetics, WooCommerce, Jetpack, and Zuva. These guys are out on the tables out there. You can go and chat to them. They're really friendly people, and I invite you to go say hi. We've also got silver sponsors, Bluehost, HubSpot, GoDaddy, and Weglot. I don't think Bluehost, HubSpot, or GoDaddy are here, but Weglot is here. Our bronze sponsors, WP Engine, Elementor, Cloudways, GFChart, and Kinsta. Networking sponsor, or after-party sponsor rather, the Code Co. In-kind sponsors, so these are guys who don't offer money, but more of a trade of service, and they're really helpful. Sticker Giant provide all of our stickers. Quilla helped us out with sending with the sponsor proposal, online proposal software. Get the word out, we did some press releases, and Pink Cow Social and Creative Compass helped out with some marketing. So, at the end of today, we've got, I'll provide some more information at the end of the day, at the closing remarks, but we've got an after party. It's at a different venue this year. So who knows where the big, ugly UTS Tower building is? I'm sure everyone's seen it. It stands out. At the base of that building, there's a little glass roof, and I'll provide some more information later, but that's where the after party is. It's called the UTS Underground. Also, we've got, so the day finishes at about 5 o'clock, and there's time to go back to the hotel, maybe get changed and get something to eat. We do have a bar tab and some canapes, but if you want to go get dinner, you can do that in the break. So just a little bit of stats. 93% of us are from Australia. We've got a few people from Canada, Czech Republic, and a few other segments there. Pretty cool. Within Australia, 76% of us are from New South Wales, which is cool. I think that's up from last year. We had more interstate people last year. We've got South Australia, Queensland, Victoria, ACT, and 5% of us are from overseas, which is cool. So, the percentages aren't there, that's weird. So I was looking at this year's, I probably should have put last year's one as well. Last year's was we only had 34% females here. So it's a huge increase this year, which is awesome. Now, what do we do? So most of us are business owners, which are great because we've got a lot of business talks on. We've got a lot of developers, designers, bloggers, editors, project managers, sales and marketing, administrators, copywriters, which is awesome. We've also got a bit of a graph for how you found out about Wordcamp. So the biggest segment there is word of mouth, which is crazy. Expected, but crazy. Meetups as well. I don't know if you've been to a meetup in Sydney, a WordPress meetup in Sydney, but I think since April this year, we've been promoting it very heavily. So that's good. WordPress dashboard is interesting. And another WordCamp. Awesome. Tickets claimed over months. So our biggest month was October, although that's not really fair because we're only 2 weeks into November. So that's cool as well. And that's it. So thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoy WordCamp from all of us organisers and volunteers. Thanks.
good.
Alrighty, room 1, Wordcamp Sydney. We're ready to go with Jen Jevons. She's going to be telling us how to get out of client hell. Don't go there, it's a bad place. Jen Jevons is the Managing Director of Pixel Palace, a serial entrepreneur. I've been meaning to ask, Cocoa Pops? Or
Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops. Serial entrepreneur of Fruit Loops and award-winning singer-songwriter. So probably not the best challenge tonight when we go to the after party.
I can't come to the after party, but I would take you on if I was there. I know. It's a long story.
Okay. Ask Jen, why not after? With a successful creative career path spanning the music industry, fashion, web and digital design and budding coffee empire, I have had one of Jen's coffees.
Have you?
I did call into your cafe when I went up to Wordcamp Brisbane.
This is Brisbane, for the record, so it's not just up the road.
In Brisbane. Well, it's up the road quite a bit.
Yeah, a long road.
But if you're around Brisbane area, Jen has a nice coffee shop up there. I'll hand over to Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was quite the intro. Thank you. Welcome to Wordcamp. This is awesome. I'm so excited at kicking off.
Sorry, I forgot.
The room.
James asked me to remind everyone there is 2 tracks and sometimes a hallway track as well. So do remember to check your schedules.
Yes. But
now I'll hand over to Jen.
This is the best room, right?
This is the best room. So it's too late now. You're stuck here.
Yes. Yeah.
But just keep that in mind.
Awesome. All right. Awesome. Yes, kicking off Wordcamp. So excited to be here from Brisbane. So thank you to the organisers for having me. Just quickly, a little bit, just to give you some background. Yes, my name's Jen, and I am the founder and fearless leader of Pixel Palace. Pixel Palace is an agency in Brisbane. We specialise in custom WordPress and strategic marketing. So we're a team made up of myself, project manager, designers, devs, and then the marketing team, which is like strategic marketing, social media, ads, and publicity. I started building websites in 2000 early 2000s. And that gives my age away. But today we specialise in custom WordPress. Like I said, we've got clients like RSPCA. We've done quite a few big custom WordPress sites for RSPCA, including their big RSPCA approved directory site. And we're currently in the middle of another campaign site for their cat safety department as well, which is pretty cool. Women's Agenda is another big one of ours that we're currently in the middle of a rebuild on as well. We've done quite a few big sort of travel sites and multilingual custom travel things in WordPress over the years. So yeah, we're currently a team of 7, but by next year we'll probably be 9 at the rate that I am travelling. But it wasn't always this way. So who here in the audience is a freelancer? Oh my God, heaps of you, awesome. And who else, if you're not a freelancer, do you deal with clients daily in some way? People? Yeah, so business owners. Cool, so just to give you a bit of background on me personally and my story, I started in web after my music career ended. So for my whole life, from when I was a little girl, all I wanted to be was a pop star and a singer. And by the time I hit my 20s, that dream was kind of coming true for me. In the early 2000s, I was a one-hit wonder here in Australia. You can Google that later. It's a good party story, basically. But anyway, made no money from that. Actually, I spoke at Brisbane Wordcamp a couple of years ago on Humanizing your brand, and I told my whole story in detail. It's up on Wordcamp TV if you're really interested. It's quite the tale. But I made no money, despite having a really big song that I co-wrote and produced and performed. But anyway, we had a website made for the band. The record company made a website, which was really cool. Like in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was a new thing. So had a website, but we had no budget to update it. They wouldn't pay for anything else. So I lived with my brother at the time, and he worked for IBM. He was a bit of a IT guy. So he and I got Dreamweaver, and we decided we were going to learn HTML and we were going to update this thing ourselves. And that was the first kind of moment where I started falling in love with the web and the fact that you could connect and communicate. For me, as an artist at that time, there was no way to really talk to fans. There was no social media, there was none of that. So the website was the one bit where I could talk directly to people about what I was doing and share myself with fans. So when that all fell in a steaming pile of poo, I needed a new career and I had literally no skills. All I'd done was sing my whole life and perform. So I was like, what am I going to do now? And I thought, I'll go study web. And so I started basically on the journey I am now. I started with doing sites for friends, and I was actually building Adobe Business Catalyst sites at the beginning. And I was just doing it from my bedroom at home, working it out as I went. And then I had a friend who I'd met in my music career. She worked at B105 in Brisbane, the radio station, and she was going to move to LA to become an entertainment reporter. So she was like, can you build me a site? I need a site. So I did. And she went off to LA and then started making a name for herself. And in the process of that, started referring people to me from LA. So I went from really puttering around in Brisbane to suddenly having all of these LA-based clients that were celebrity stylists, fashion labels, all sorts of really, really cool clients on my portfolio. I wasn't very good, but clients really loved me because I was super people pleaser, I was friendly, I was attentive, I was super responsive, and I communicated really well. So the business grew, and as it did, it became harder and harder to manage on my own from my bedroom. I'd had 2 babies in this time as well, so I'd had little kids. And being the people pleaser and prone to some anxiety, I was finding myself waking up and I'd jump on the computer straight away in my pyjamas, walk out, sit down, and people probably relate to this. My husband would bring me a coffee, I'd sit down, I'd be working, and it'd be 2 p.m. before I stood up and realised I hadn't eaten and I'd had a coffee and I hadn't moved. And this got into a really, really, really bad cycle of not taking care of myself. I had things like a client text me at 11 p.m. when I was asleep and I heard it go off, so I got up and the site's down, so I get out of bed, go and get on the phone to the host for hours to fix it, get the site back up. I'm sure everyone's been here as well. And it just got so bad that I was waking up sick from stress. My husband intervened at that point and made me go and see someone, and I got diagnosed with really severe clinical anxiety and medicated. So at that point, it was like, something's got to change. I've either got to scale or I've got to quit. I can't keep this up. But I love what I do, and I loved what I did then. So I was like, nope, not doing that. And that was when I first decided to get another person involved, and I got a contract developer on board who just would take over all the dev side and take it off me, and I would just deal with design and clients. And then the business grew from there. So like I said, today, Pixel Palace, 12 years on, nearly 13, and we're a team of 7, 8, there's a couple of part-timers. And when I was brainstorming what to talk about at Wordcamp with my team, they all commented that after the last prezos, all the previous Wordcamps, well, I presented on all sorts of things. I've done case studies on our custom WooCommerce that my husband and I built, and that's now the Coffee Empire. And last one in Brisbane, I did what goes into a 50K plus WordPress site, so custom stuff, and showcase some of the custom work that Pixel Palace does on some of these sites. And that was great, but there were heaps of questions always in the Q&A and afterwards around the stuff I talked about with clients and the client manager and the people side of things. People really wanted to hear about the secret sauce of successfully navigating, running a profitable, fun, creative, or tech business. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. My team will tell you that we have a fantastic culture at Pixel Palace, and I am super proud of that and really, really conscious of it. It's my number one driver in my business is actually people and my team. We have really clear mission and values, and I protect this fiercely. I do that by using the things I'm going to talk about today. So I think it's really going to be relevant to anyone who's running a business in this space, hopefully, whether it is just you on your own or whether you've got some team on board or if you're just client-facing in a bigger organisation. Right, so number one, first point, and this is the biggest one, I think, in my book, it underpins everything, is that it all comes down to people and communications. So if you are not good with people and communications, I really believe you need to learn it or you need to hire someone who is. You can be the best designer, coder, tech person in the world, but if you can't communicate and manage people, then it's going to be a struggle to have a business in this space. It's easy to get obsessed with code and tech or mega design and blah, 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 but really it just comes down to people and relationships. So some tips around people, some things that you might be able to take away and use are tailoring your communication style to clients. So I do this up front. I try to recognise how certain clients, when they come on board, need to be communicated with. Find out what's important to them. So some people really want details when it comes to web, or some just want big picture, like they don't really want to get bogged down, they just want you to take care of it. Some people need to feel in control and others want you to feel safe. They want you to be in control. So if you can identify that early in all your communications with a client, things will run a lot smoother and they'll be a lot happier and they'll give you less grief. It's awareness around how people need to be communicated with. Get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. This is a good one. I actually love an uncomfortable conversation now. I've become a sicko for it. When I first started, I didn't. I don't think many humans do actually like it. But if you can get comfortable with this, it's a superpower with people. Things get sorted out super quick. Get on the phone and have the uncomfortable conversation and sort stuff out quickly. Further to that, call, don't email around those difficult conversations. Multiple people on Facebook tagged me on that meme because I'm apparently the person in yellow with every one of my designer or developer friends. Because I truly believe, I see so many of my friends that I talk to that are in this space, they're like, oh, this client's driving me crazy. And I'm like, just call them. Things escalate on email, right? Like, people are keyboard warriors and people are happy to fire back some unreasonable thing or not think about their tone, and you'll read into their tone on an email. But honestly, I find when you get on the phone, it diffuses so quick. More often than not, okay, occasionally it might not, but more often than not it will diffuse. So, and then importantly, follow up that call with an email outlining what you talked about. So there is a written document of what was discussed. It's also a really professional way to finish up a conversation that might have been difficult. Point 2, your ego will kill you in this space. One of the biggest ways we shoot ourselves in the foot is by letting our ego dictate actions and how we think and feel about ourselves and others. So managing your ego and keeping it in check is literally one of the most productive and rational and magnetic and attractive things you can do in this space. It's the ultimate sales tool. Putting ego aside will allow you to listen, which is super important. It will also help you improve sales conversions. Like when people feel heard, especially in those initial conversations, it can be quite unusual in the space, like really, really listening without ego. It helps you produce better work because you can put aside ego and not just have your agenda, but actually do good work for clients that will make a difference. And you'll just generally have happier clients overall. So my tip on this, especially around getting client feedback on something, particularly if you're a bit sensitive, is, if a client sends you feedback, you have to not take things personally. Put your ego aside and ask, where's the truth in their perspective? What is it I can take from this feedback that will be useful and better the outcome in this project? And what do I need to just leave on the table because that's just their perspective and it's subjective and blah, 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 blah. But if you can get good at putting your ego aside, all this stuff will get easier. Further to that, as a part 2 on ego, is empathy. So empathy is the act of putting yourself in someone else's shoes and seeing a problem from their point of view. So I believe empathy is a superpower in this space because it lets you kind of predict things. Like, I am able to predict a client's questions before they ask them usually now and proactively answer them, which is, again, an amazing sales tool. But also throughout the project, if I have empathy for where they stand, I can understand why they're asking questions and what they might ask before they do it. It'll help you predict what they're going to feel when they get the link to the staging site or they get the design or they get whatever it is, the quote, whatever it is. If you've had empathy about their point of view on the whole thing, you're going to be able to know before you send it what they're going to think when they see it. And then understanding what's driving their reactions and their feedback and their behaviour. So, you know, some people just behave badly or are in a bad place, and that comes as feedback to you when you send them something or for whatever reason. But having some empathy about where they currently stand in their life or their point of view will give you some buffer around that stuff, which is the things that freelancers in particular take to heart. I believe you can learn empathy, absolutely, but you absolutely have to put ego aside to do it. So these two go hand in hand for me. So a tip around empathy is, I don't know, how many people have heard of Bren Brown? Oh my God, so yeah, here's a tip. If you haven't got into Bren Brown, you need to. Go and have a listen to some of her stuff. She's amazing. I'm literally want to be besties with Bren. But she has this awesome idea of the assumption of positive intent, which is this idea of approaching every interaction with people or clients, I use it for clients, but people in general, with an assumption of positive intent, which means you assume that they're doing the best they can. So yes, that client might be an absolute dick. Like, that's sometimes what happens. Like, they might be, but if you have assumption of positive intent, they're not meaning to be. They're not deliberately trying to make your life hell. They're just having a bad day, or this is very stressful for them, or their boss is really putting a deadline on them, or whatever it is. It doesn't make it right, but it makes it easier, and it gives you a little bit of buffer. So the assumption of positive intent is a really good one to take and move forward with in your interactions with clients. Number 3 is you need to get picky. I am so picky about clients at Pixel Palace. I've actually always been pretty picky about who I've worked with over the years. We make clients kind of run the gauntlet at Pixel Palace. It's more of an application than it is an inquiry. So better clients demand more from you, but they pay more and they talk about your work. Better clients will make it easier for you to level up, and better clients will challenge you to dig deeper and do more of what you're capable of. So I don't believe you can do better by working more hours. You just can't work more hours, but you can do better by finding better clients. So how do you do that? We have some things that in our book will be a tick against the good client score at Pixel Palace. The first one is having budget. Now, this is a big one because although on the surface, of course, clients with budget, yeah, you get paid, right? Great. It's not actually about the money for me. It's about a couple of other things that are a bit more nuanced. It's about having time to give a shit about the project. And I spoke about this in my Brisbane talk on what goes into a high-end custom WordPress site. That proper budget allows you to have time to think and try things and strategize and percolate. And I can't, myself and my team, work on things if we're just pumped and we've only got half the time we need to do something. We're not going to do our best work, and we just want to do good work for good people. So I want to leave things better than I found them. It's not about just pumping work through. So for me, budget is not about getting paid as much as it is about having time to care about the outcome. It's also showing that they understand your value, which is a big one for me. We have a list of values in Pixel Palace, and the first one is we are invested. And I apply that to clients as well. Clients need to be invested in the project and in us as experts and in the outcomes and everything for us to take it on board. And if they are willing to pay and they have decent budget for the project, then that shows that they actually understand the value. Secondly, good clients have good communication skills and they're responsive and respectful. So if I get a sense that they're not going to communicate well, next. Good clients are invested in the project and in you as an expert. Good clients know what they want, and or if they don't, which is fine, they're happy to be advised and confident in your ability to advise them. There is nothing worse. Obviously, everyone's probably been there, and clients who, I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want, especially when I see it. That stuff, no. Again, in my book, not going to be a good client. And then they get bonus points for being fun. So one of our other values at Pixel Palace is we have fun, and they get bonus points if it's someone that I would like to go for a beer with. Also, as a caveat to that, they get points if they swear a little bit and we can swear a little bit in front of them. Like, it needs to be a relaxed, fun, friendly relationship, especially on some of these bigger projects. I have this joke that it's kind of like choosing a baby daddy or having a baby with someone, because you've got to get this thing out into the world and you want to see it do well, and you want that relationship to be good between the parents in order for that thing to come and be as awesome as it possibly can. Further to that, so red flags, client red flags. Does anyone have any red flags? Have you got a list of red flags? Yep. Do you want to yell it out? Anyone?
Your brother's a web designer.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah. Oh, yep.
What about they're slow in paying a deposit?
Yes.
Can you give me a discount?
Yes, yeah, right, exactly. So we have a list of red flags. The first one is, if the first question is how much will it cost? And again, not because I'm all about the money, I'm not. I'm about, if you're driven by price and you're shopping on price and you're not caring about an outcome, you're not caring about a relationship, you don't see the value in this, you literally just want to buy something off the shelf, and we are not going to be the people for you if that's the case. If they don't want to get on a phone call is another one for me. If you don't want to talk to me, no one wants to get on the phone. Even I don't want to answer a phone call, but sometimes, especially at the beginning of a project, we're trying to get a quote to someone. I want to talk to you, probably several times before we're giving you that quote. They take ages to respond. That includes paying as well, but even before that, like in the initial inquiry, if they inquire, we fire back a thing and they take too long, they've already got one red flag against their name in our book. It's okay at the very beginning, but if they're too slow repetitively in that first bit, I'm like, this is not going to work. They have multiple horror stories of previous service providers who've wronged them. Oh my God, 10 minutes, I've got to go. And they take no responsibility. And this last one, they're too excited or too emotional. My team laugh their heads off at this, and it's a weird one, but in my experience, true. Like, we have people that are like, oh my God, I'm so excited to work with you, we're so aligned, and they almost cry, and I start going, oh my God, no. Or if they weep when you send them the first designs, I've had that, and that happened, and like, fuck yeah, that's kind of swearing type thing, right? And that, I ended up sacking that client 3 months down the track because they were so crazy, they just were like, whoa. So too emotional, too excited, done. This idea of ringing versus ringing, choosing clients that are well aligned with you is super important. So identify when you're ringing, which is resonant and feels good and awesome and magic happens, versus ringing. Because the longer you're trying to ring something over the course of a project, the more painful that's going to be. Number 4, let's talk about value. I saw this awesome quote. I don't know who did it, but I've adopted it as my own. I don't charge by the hour, I charge by the awesome, which makes me expensive, but also, and this is critical, awesome. And like, that's so exactly right. It's that time to give a shit thing. So hourly billing burns the social dynamic, in my experience. The psychology of a relationship between you and a client will be materially different if it's based on hourly pricing than it will be if it's based on an outcome or continuity or project pricing. When people pay you by the hour, clients intend to obsess over what you're doing every hour, and they're not focused on the net effect that you're having on them, which is the really important thing. And that often leads to really unreasonable expectations and the desire to micromanage. So, yeah, moving away from hourly pricing and starting to focus on outcomes. And the other bit is this, like, understanding the psychology of value. So there's a great analogy that's been around for a while about the guy that goes to the dentist. The dentist goes, you need 2 fillings. I've got time to do one now, let's do it, and we'll book you in for the next one next week. So he does it, and the dude goes to pay. And then he's like, oh my God, this is super expensive. So how dare you charge me that much? That took you 20 minutes and you were just able to do it. And the dentist went, well, that's fine. I can take 2 hours to do the second one next week if it makes you feel better. And that's kind of this psychology of value. Like, as you get better and more experienced, you're going to be quicker and better and more awesome quickly. So why should you only get paid by the time it takes you? That's not what people are paying for. So hourly pricing means someone gets screwed. It's either you or the client. It's not good for anyone. So moving away from that. And then this idea changed my entire freelancing business back in the, probably read it 10 years ago from the amazing Seth Godin. He has this quote about the benefit of the doubt, which is the patient responds to medicine when he believes the doctor who prescribes it, and the client's far more likely to applaud your work if he's already put down a big non-refundable deposit. A huge part of making our work more effective is creating the environment where we will be given the benefit of the doubt. Often creating this environment is at least as important as the work itself. The benefit to both sides is huge. Doubt is a project killer, and investing in diminishing that doubt is time well spent. Now, the important bit about this is that I am not in any way saying you use this to get crappy work over the line with a client, because the premise of this whole thing is not, I'm assuming that you're doing your very best work no matter what level you're at or what you're charging. This is not about manipulation. This is about, if you provide the same exact deliverable and you've done your very best, and I switched to doing a 50% deposit up front when I read this. The minute I read it, I was like, change from my 10% to 50 10 years ago. Present the same design to a client, someone who's paid a $10,000 deposit up front and is waiting to see the deliverable to approve it to move to the next stage. How do you think they're going to how do you think they're going to be feeling about that deliverable before they see it? They're going to want to like what they're going to see. They have paid a big chunk of money. They're not going to want to pick it apart. They don't want to feel like an idiot. So you've removed some doubt. If they've paid 10% or nothing before they have to approve something from you, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to nitpick to get every cent of value out of you before they have to fork over the next big chunk of money. So in terms of client psychology management, this was a huge one. Number 5, boundaries. Weirdly, people will like you more when you set boundaries. People like me more than some of my team because I'm the one that comes in and goes, nah. And the team will have been, oh, okay, I'm not sure, blah, blah. No, boundaries, people like you more. Again, amazing Bren Brown. She talks a lot about this. But boundaries are about training clients how they need to behave with you. So things like don't answer emails, calls, or texts on the weekend. No, oh my God. Respond promptly and communicate clearly. Demonstrate the behaviour that you want to see back from them. Shows you have boundaries. Have a conversation at the start of a project about these rules and how to get the best out of the relationship. People, when I say this to other people, they think I'm nuts that I do this. I do this with every client that comes on board. I have a conversation that is, understand that the team energy and dynamic and the culture here and how we feel about a project is super important to me and everyone, and it should be to you, because it's like kombucha. If everything stays nice and happy and healthy and we communicate well, it doesn't mean we have to agree, but we communicate well, the project is going to be awesome. You will get our very best work. But if you start firing emails that are all caps with no hi and screaming unreasonable things at us over email, the whole team's going to start shutting down, stepping back, and you're not going to get the best outcome. So understand that that's how this works around here. Payment up front, so that whole payment thing, deposit, not releasing things until they've paid. We don't launch unless they've paid their thing in full, stuff like that. Showing them we have systems and processes in place and explaining why. And this is a big one, being prepared to walk away. This can be hard, especially if you're struggling to get work and you're maybe by yourself or you're just trying to build a business. But it's extremely powerful having the energy behind your intention that you're prepared to walk away from something that doesn't align with your values and is not respectful of your boundaries. You make space for better clients when you do that. And again, just quickly, I love Seth. Seth, you need to follow Seth. Who gets your best work? It's like if you reserve your best effort for the irritable boss, the never-pleased client, and the bully of a customer, then you've bought into a system that rewards the very people who are driving you nuts. It's no wonder you have clients like that, because they get your best work. On the other hand, when you make it clear and then deliver on the promise that your best work goes to those that are clear, respectful, and patient, you become a specialist in having clients just like that. Amazing. So true. And just a tip on this one, a practical tip, because my talk was practical. Boomerang for Gmail is really good. If you're a freelancer and you work all hours and you've just got to get stuff done, trying not to send emails out of hours to people. Boomerang's a free thing on Gmail. If you haven't got it, you can just schedule that it sends, like 9 a.m. the next day or whatever, but some sort of scheduling app for email is a good idea. Scope creep, oh my God. So the biggest issue in the whole industry is scope creep. And oh God, I laughed at that picture. My whole team. I think, especially as a freelancer, when you're on your own, everyone wants to people please, and there's no one to back you up, and you overpromise to get the job sometimes, and then clients don't understand what you do, and they're getting angry because some people get angry when they don't understand, and that whole thing, and there's resentment both sides, and it's all just bad, right? It's freelancer hell. It's actually agency hell as well. It's hard. Scope creep is hard. But I've actually got really good at managing scope creep. So some of the things that we do to manage scope creep are that we take time to scope things properly before quoting. So we do very, very detailed quotes on everything, so it's very, very clear. We ask lots of questions prior to quoting. So often when we're getting ready to do a quote, I will call someone so many times, we will email so many times with so many questions, and I can't tell you the amount of times the client will go, none of the other companies have asked any of these questions. Like, what? And I'm like, well, what are they doing? They're like, I don't know. So it's an amazing sales technique as well, right? But it's also protecting you. So later on when they try and suggest some crazy thing that they thought was included, that didn't come up in the 100 questions we asked you about all the things. Is there anything else? Is there anything else? Is there anything else? That's out of scope. So it gives you power. Nip it in the bud early. It's like mold. Scope creep is like mold. You can't leave any of it. So as soon as it starts happening, you have to identify it and go, like, we need to deal with this. And dealing with it doesn't mean you say no. You can still even do it, but you need to communicate that you're doing it. So you need to communicate discounts and extras that you're throwing in really clearly as you go. I know we've made the mistake lots of times, even up until the last couple of years, of just doing the little bits that the client asks for because it's easy. But those bits are the bits that give you power later on when they want something massive and they're angry because they don't understand. You can go, look at all the things I told you as we went, we've added. And this is clearly out of scope because you didn't tell us at the beginning and it's not in the quote. So communicating that all the way through is important though. Quote for all out of scope work, even if you're prepared to do it for free. Again, I'm not saying you have to charge for it. That's fine, but they need to know what they're getting so they understand. And then this tip, this is a Jennyism, but yeah, my team thinks it's hilarious. Get practiced at serving a shit sandwich. Now, a shit sandwich is, I'm sorry, I'm a swearer for anyone who is offended by language things, but positive, bad news, positive, right? So an example of a shit sandwich would be, I've got to stop, would be client asks for something crazy, you go, that's a great idea. I actually think it'll be fantastic and your audience would really like that. It's going to add 30 hours and $5,000 to the quote and the scope, but we think you'll get ROI on that. It's a great idea. So if you'd like us to proceed with that, let us know and we'll work out how we can fit it into the current schedule and we'll get cracking on it for you. Happy, bad news, happy. What that does is you're not saying no, but you put it back on them. You're very clear that this was my boundaries, this was the scope, this is what we're doing. You can do it, it's your choice now. And if they were thinking you were going to include it, they feel like an idiot because of that. If they get angry, you've communicated clearly and it's fair. I'm meant to stop, but you've got to have rules. So act like an agency, even if you're not. Take the choice out of it for yourself, and it becomes how the business rolls. So I have project management, deadlines. I have project kill dates. You know when the client disappears at the end of a project, right when their last invoice is due, because they know they've got to pay, and then suddenly they don't really care if the website doesn't go live for another 2 months. No, we have a kill date that says, we're finished, and you pay us. So things like that. Counting systems, clearly defined operating hours. Pay yourself a set wage each week. If you're a freelancer, a business coach told me this years ago. Auto transfer, set an amount, let it automatically go across to your personal account. What that does is it forms a habit, it sets a minimum threshold for your value, and it allows funds to pool in the business too, which then gives you some choice later on when you want to walk away from a bad client or pick a client. So you can increase the amount as you build, but doing it that way, it saves you from being desperate when you get to a client that you don't want to work with. So just the takeaways are, people and comms is massively important. You can be the best designer or coder in the universe, but if you can't communicate, you're going to struggle. Ego and empathy, listen well and take feedback. Use empathy and leave your ego out of it. Working with clients who are well aligned means you'll be ringing rather than ringing, so get picky. Value, doubt's a project killer, so invest in diminishing doubt in every way you can. Boundaries are massively important. Promise that your best work goes to those that are respectful, and you'll get customers that are like that. And then have rules and get really, really good at delivering shit sandwiches. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jen. I think we have time for a couple of questions, and I hope everyone is ready to begin their ascent to client heaven. Put your hand up if you have a question, and we'll run a microphone to you.
Have you got any tips on dealing with the sort of time blockers, you know? Oh, can I just have a quick question? The ones that call up.
Yeah. We try and avoid phone stuff, as in we don't have a number that people can call. There's mobiles. I just really early, that's part of that conversation at the beginning of a project or any new client that comes on board with us. That's one of the things. We're like, understand that we'd rather keep feedback or questions to a set time. We try and make intervals where we'll do a Google Hangouts with the client mid-project and stuff like that. It is tough. I think there's a balance between great customer service, because I think being super responsive keeps clients happy as well, but keep it contained to a...
They're like leeches.
Yes, they can be. But that's boundaries though, right? Like if you set up boundaries and you're clear in your boundaries, they stop being leeches and they like you more, which is the weird, conversely odd thing about that one. Yeah.
Hi, thanks for the talk, Jen.
That's all right.
Just agree with all your stuff about being picky about clients and everything. But what's the best way to find the balance with that when you're starting out and you're quite desperate for clients?
Yeah, I think it's like starting out, and I definitely did a lot of, I also do think some of this stuff when you're starting is like, I can stand here and tell you this, but sometimes you just need to feel the real burn to learn. So I let some of my younger team learn the burn badly themselves with clients, just for the fun of it, for them to learn. But I think I think all of this applies no matter what level you're at. So and again, the boundaries and the value stuff, like even if you're not charging a huge amount because you're only just starting and you're trying to get clients, even if you're working for free for a client, like I think that's fine. Building portfolio, that's what you do. But all of those things like the value, and just because they're not paying you, it's a little bit of a recipe for disaster, right? Because there's not going to be a lot of value attached. So they aren't going to, no matter what, it's like the budget part of that value piece is the bit. People when they're not paying for it, they don't really care, and especially friends and family seem to be the worst at this. Like they just don't really value you, and it feels like they should, and then it's even more hurtful, right? Because they don't. But I think it's that communicating. If you go into that relationship and you're doing it for free, communicate up front. This is fraught with danger. This is fraught with, I want this to be good, but understand that I'm doing something for free to you. This would be worth this much. I need you to behave like this for this to work. These are the rules. This is how it's going to roll. We're going to run this like blah, blah, blah. Treat those clients like they're paying $50,000 for the thing, even if they're only paying nothing or $500. I think all those rules that I spoke about still apply. Yeah, communication. That's it.
Great talk, Jen. Thank you. We run a plug-in business, so we're probably in a different price point from where you are. But do you have any comments about how to deal with international clients, particularly those that sort of put their messages through Google Translate before it arrives?
I don't, to be honest, that would be like, that's hard, and I don't have an answer. I wouldn't work with them, only because like I pick who we work with, and that would just be a too hard basket for me. That's a hard one for you, though.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Ooh.
Just a quick question on invoicing. Like if customers start out really good, pay really regularly, and then things start getting bad to worse, how do you where's the point of when you should really challenge to say, fix up the invoice?
I am quick on that too. That again for me is that boundaries thing. Like this is how if you want to work with us, and I did sack a major client in Brisbane this year because I got sick of, they're a big name, especially in Brisbane. I would get crying phone calls from the marketing manager at 7 p.m. on my mobile because she'd broken something. They were high maintenance. They obviously had a horrible culture in their actual business, and they wouldn't pay invoices for like 4 months. So I just, in the end, sent an email and said, forget it, we're done. We're not doing this anymore, we're out. And so, because it's the Seth thing. Like if you're going to behave like that, it sets an energetic tone for the rest of my business too. So I think as soon as they stop paying, I send an email saying you need to pay. I will call, and I will keep calling until they pay. You can do it with a shit sandwich. But like it's just being very clear on your boundaries and not just taking it because you have to, because you make room for something better. So yeah,
We can probably get away with one more question, maybe two if you're quick.
I can answer quick.
Hi.
Hi.
One area in which I and many people are weak is actually preparing the invoices.
Yes.
You know, very enthusiastic at doing the work, but just hate preparing
Really?
the
See, I
invoices.
love invoicing. I have this thing, I'm like, Mama loves to invoice. The team know. Yeah, yep.
So do you have any recommendations for, services or software to automatically do the, hour logging and...
Yeah, so we use Harvest and we use Xero. But to be fair, because we work project-based mostly, or retainer work for big clients that we do full strategic marketing, like digital plug-in, it's all automated either in repeating invoices in Xero or Thingo. So we don't do little bits and pieces, like we don't just do your social media, or we don't just do a deliverable design thing. It's like 50% deposit, 30% progress payment, 20%, and I get paid because we don't move if you don't pay, so you don't get your stuff. So I don't have that many problems around invoicing because of that, but I would definitely say Xero is the best thing out there. It integrates with everything.
Thanks.
Yeah.
One more, just talk 1.5 times speed,
Sorry,
please.
I'm trying to talk as quickly as possible.
It's a great talk, by the way, thanks. But it sounds like a lot of your work is like one-on-one with the client. How much of it do you automate to make it more?
Some of the dev process setup stuff is sort of automated, but no, we're very custom. Like everything is custom designed, built. All of the strategic marketing, like we don't charge by the hour, we charge by the awesome, like we charge by outcome. So, our sites start at 20 grand up to 100 grand for a WordPress site. So it's not, it's sort of, it is one-on-one because we have time. It's that back again to value and having time. That price point gives us time to give a shit and to care. I can plug in, and the team, our whole team of 9 have eyes on a project. So we work on a couple of things at a time, and everyone's all on it. So it is very, very personalised. That's how I want to do business, though. I think probably better.
Thank you very much, Jen.
No worries. Thank you.
talk number 2, we've got Mick Villa on Goodbye Themes, Hello Elementor. You'll probably recognise Mick as the Bear Grylls of Elementor. I first saw Mick a couple of years ago at a Wordcamp and I didn't get to say hello, and then I only recognised him at the following Wordcamp from the hat, and then got to know him a little bit better. So we're just finalising some technical bits and pieces. Why did the Wapu cross the road? I don't know. Does anyone? No? Because there was a bushfire, yes.
Hello? Oh.
Yeah.
All right, we arrived.
Take it away, Mick.
All right, cool. How are we all today? Awesome. Thanks for coming along. Just before I start doing my slides, I just got off the plane literally half an hour ago to get here from the Gold Coast. This talk's just an overview of using Elementor and stuff. I am getting around all weekend, so come and buzz me in the hallway and we can have a chat. Plus there's a hallway track tomorrow at 10 o'clock and we'll be on the page builder panel in the afternoon as well. So do come to those and have a look if you have any questions. So here's my talk today, Goodbye Themes, Hello Elementor, and beyond creating the basic site. So just a bit more with custom post types and custom fields and templating. So who am I and what's my story? Well, I'm Mick, the WordPress mentor now, but I started off many years ago fire toiling and stilt walking at Dracula's, to moving on to standing in front of an audience, teaching people how to use a camp oven. Did that for about 6 years at all the big caravan shows, and now I moved on to teaching people, helping people build websites with WordPress, now with Elementor in the last 12 months. So that's my bit of a story about me. See if we can screw it down a little bit. All right, so I can't code. I started 20 years ago and I bought myself a book, HTML for Dummies, for the local bookshop, and tried to teach myself, couldn't work it out. And so I moved on to using GeoCities, which more drag and drop builder, with a bit of HTML and stuff. But it was just my next platform that I went to with building thing. And I even then got into doing Photoshop slices. So you build all your website in Photoshop and then export it out in the slices, and then you get your HTML and upload it, and there was your website. Back then we didn't worry about image sizes of photos, we just hoped for the best, and we had worse internet than we do now. And then moved on to using drag and drop builders out there that was, on Windows, and that did the same thing, outputted the HTML and you upload that to your server. And you didn't worry about databases or anything like that back then either. And then we moved into Joomla, which I spent about 15 years playing with. And then the last couple of years been moved on to WordPress. And I first tried WordPress, back in 2003 and didn't like it, and moved away to Joomla and never looked back, and always thought it was not good because I just off my base first experience. But lo and behold, it has got better. But in the whole journey, I've always relied on things to be able to design, whether it's a Photoshop or a Builder or Joomla or WordPress, and with them you have to go and spend hours on theme directories to find something that you can modify to turn into your website. But now, in my journey of doing the caravan shows and stilt walking or fire toiling, when I learnt those things, I've always needed a website. And so I just taught myself to build websites for those hobbies. And I also spend a lot of time teaching people how to fire toil, teaching people how to camp up and cook. So I found out that I liked educating or like helping people learn things, and that's now why I'm in helping people to do website stuff. Because in this day and age, we're all doing DIY, and that's where I come now, doing WP Mentor. I'm admin of Elementor community, so if you're on there, you'll see me getting around. And I also run the Gold Coast Elementor Meetup, which we host once a month, and it's just a get together like if you go to your WordPress meetups, you'll be able to go there. And then so We also have a Sydney and Melbourne Meetup too, so if you're in those places, they've just started, you can jump on Meetup and find them. Keep moving on. So before I get started too much further, who here uses Elementor so far? So we've got a lot of people here in the room that have Elementor. Awesome. Who's not used it yet, but we want to start using it? Good, nice. So like I said before, why I'm talking about it is that we all spent lots of time, I'm sure a lot of you here have spent a lot of time on the repos looking for plugins or themes to do stuff to make it look like what you want, and then you swap out your content and voila, you have a website. But you don't get a lot of control over that. But now with the invent of page builders, and with the page builders now doing theme styling, you can do headers and footers and things like that. Enables you to not even worry about a theme most of the time now. So that's where I'm coming to today with my talk. So here's the 3 most popular page builders that we have, is Elementor, Beaver Builder and Divi. All 3 of them now do the whole dynamic content stuff with Divi's latest release. Whatever you use, I'm happy, have no preference. I just like using Elementor because I just find it so much more easier to use. As I'm more of a visual person, and I just look at it and understand it so much more easier than some of the other page builders out there. And so that's why I use Elementor as my choice of page builder. I only started using it 12 months ago, and now I'm out here in the community helping people learn how to use it because I love it that much. And I don't spend a lot of time making clients' websites. I more do hobby stuff for myself, and I learn, and I try and help people use it as well because it is quite a difficult tool at some stages and can give you a bit of trouble. There we go. So this is the builder here itself. On the left we have the widget bar, and that's where you also do your styling as well for all your widgets and elements inside your design. In the middle is your design layout. Enables you to drag everything over and design it in block form, and then this is just for people who are not sure. And then you've got your navigator on the right, which enables you to manage, if you've got lots and lots of layers like Photoshop, you can go through all your layers and sort that out and be able to manage. And you can rename them, and there's other fancy features you can do with the navigator to help you when you get long pages in your design. For those that are unsure, there's 2 versions of Elementor. There's the free version of Elementor and the pro version. Now, most of the features I'm talking about today, and without trying to be salesy, just to give you an overview of what you can do with it, is that is revolved around pro. But the free version enables you to build the inside content of your pages. So it's great if you still want to use a theme to control other parts of your website, like your blog styling, your headers and your footers. But if you want to have more control over that and a lot more other pro features, then pro is the way to go. So another good thing about it is lots and lots of widgets to choose from in there. These are some of the free ones that you can have access to, but then the pro have a lot more. And then the best thing about Elementor is that they allow developers to build add-ons for here, a bit just like WordPress. You have WordPress and then you go out and get plugins and stuff. They have that community. Same with Elementor, they wanted to have that focus. And so this is some of the things that you can have. And like I said, you can get add-ons to make it even more crazy. And then another feature is the pop-up builder in Pro. Enables you to build pop-ups, but not always needing to be a nag screen that comes up and goes, hey, subscribe to me. You can use them for like menus and pop slide out menus or other cool things, or you might want to trigger a video inside of a pop-up instead of being on the screen loading straight away, and you can dynamically trigger that and put the video inside of a pop-up. So there's a lot of other ideas that you can use for that. Another thing is that you have full control over mobile and tablet views of your pages as well, which is great to fine tune. You can turn things off and hide things on layers as well if you don't want it on mobile, or vice versa. And just helps you make a good mobile website, especially when we're coming mobile first nowadays. The main thing that I like is the theme builder. That's the reason why I use Elementor. It enables you to build the headers, the footers, the archive templates, and the single post templates and so forth, and you just have full control. And then you only need a theme because WordPress requires one. So yeah, it just sits there. I don't use it for anything else other than adding the logo in for your sites. So the fun bit, why I like Elementor, and so we've done a bit of talk about some of the features you can get, and there are a lot more, but you can have a look at those on the website in your own time, is because of the options of having dynamic content. So you can make different style of websites more than just your basic business website for your local shop or whatever you're designing a site for. And so with custom post types and custom fields, you're able to pull in content and make really nice layouts dynamically. And so in Elementor Pro, there's 20 widgets that enable you to pull in dynamic content. So you can, instead of it saying header widget, that will pull in from the custom field that you create, and whatever you type into that field will show up in that because you're pulling it dynamically. There are a few different dynamic widgets out there, your heading, image, text editor. You can do numbers now, which is great for reviews and star ratings and things like that. That's come out last update, and Google Maps and things. But keep on going. So the best thing about dynamic content support is you can extend your website to have other things. So if you're a mummy blogger and you're doing product reviews for toys, you can create a custom post type just for that. And then that custom post type can look like how you want to build it out with this styling, and then you can just dynamically create your new post, put all your fields that you have filled out, and it makes it like nice. And then when you, like, a bit of an example is when you go to realestate.com.au and you have a look at their website, and you'll see the picture and the price and all that labelled out nicely. Instead of just building that by drag and drop, if the pages are all the same with just different content, you can create the template and then it'll just pull that dynamically in. So you can do things like movie reviews, product reviews, recipe listings, real estate listings, portfolio pages, and more. When you get more into real estate listings or directories, there's a lot more involved. So I try and just focus on just extending your base website. So like if you're a web developer, you might want to create a really awesome showcase website, portfolio, and have it all laid out nicely, then this is a great way to create a custom post type for that to showcase. Just to give a bit of an overview of what a custom post type is, it's just a standalone version of like posts or pages that's just for that post type that you're creating. So another good one is WooCommerce creates its own post types with products and archive pages and stuff like that, but you can create one for, you know, hotels or toys or whatever you're going to be talking about, and it will come up in your sidebar. Like in this example up here, it shows you movies, and then you just go there, create a new movie, and it turns up in your template. And then to be able to make custom post types, there's two ways. There's plugins or there's writing custom code. So these are the three main ones, CPT UI, or if you're using toolset or pods, they have it integrated into it to be able to do that. And then next thing you need is custom fields. So custom fields add to your normal post. So your normal post will have a title, it'll have your content and a featured image and a few other things, but you can add on to that and you can create, you know, other things for like slogans or excerpts or city or gallery or how many bedrooms or bathrooms or all other sorts of things, and add that all to your custom post that you made. And then when you fill out that post, you have those spots, those fields inside of that to fill out. And then plugins to create custom fields is for using ACF or toolset or pods. They're easy ways to make custom fields. So on this example, you can see that it shows you like fields for internet, parking, overall star of the place, a hotel website, URL, hotel phone numbers, all those sort of things that will list out, and it'll show you an example that I've created for this weekend. So here's my example site. It's a real live site. You can look at in your own time. And it basically has some hotels on it. On the custom loop here, it's got the title, and other details on there. You can check that out. And I'll just show you a bit more about that website there. All right, so this website's made up with a custom post type, which is on the side, and it says capsule hotels. And I've made that for these hotels. There's only a few in Australia, so it's a great example to create an example for. And this is just showing you in the middle content here is the different posts that I've created for each of the hotels that I've got listed on this website for the example. And then there's a taxonomy that I've made custom, which is location. So you've got one for Sydney and every other state in Australia. And the plugin I've used for that is CPT UI to do the category, the post type. And then part of the website is I need custom fields, so that's where I've used ACF, and I've made custom fields assigned to that post type, and for slogan, excerpt, hotel description, and gallery, and all those other things that make up a hotel listing website, just to showcase the hotel. And with the two together, then you'll create a new post. And this is the single post template that I've created. So that's when you've gone to clicked on the hotel you want to look at, it'll load the single post, and it's all laid out with all the dynamic content that you've entered into your post, all showed out in a nice layout, and they're all the same. You just change the content out on your post that you've created in your custom fields. And on the right there is a little demo of the site in the page builder of choice. And I did explain that before, but yeah, everything here is a title, all pulled in dynamically from those fields. So every time you make a new post, it pulls that in to your slides. And now this is the archive page on the website, and it's got a hero image, it's got your post loop, and same as your footer and your header on there. But the best thing about Elementor is they brought out the ability to put ACF fields into taxonomies or your categories, and then pull that into your post type. So instead of making a different template for each state, you just have to make one template and assign those fields to pull in the content from each of those to be able to create the archive. Now on this page you'll see the loop of all the content, and that I've created with the page builder, and then assigned it by using a plugin called ELE Custom Skin. And it enables you to create the loops and assign them to wherever you want on there. And it's pulling in the content from those fields to give a bit of a showcase. And then the button is dynamically pulled to the link of the page that I've created on there. How we go all that? Everyone understand what I was talking about? Get an idea? Yep. If you want to have a bit more of a one-on-one, we can do that another time throughout the weekend. Just come and see me. But the best place to go is wptuts.co.uk, and he's got tons of videos on exactly this, and full walkthrough of creating all the post types, all the ACF fields, the templates through the template builder of Elementor, and puts it all together to be able to, to do it, follow step by step, and you'll understand it. And once you understand it, you'll be able to do it on so many different projects or clients, or even for yourself later on in the future. So that's pretty much my talk there, guys. I'm Mick, the WP Mentor. Thanks for coming along. Hope you enjoyed it. And you can find me at that URL.
Thank you very much, Mick. Any questions from the audience?
One in the middle.
Thanks very much for your talk, Mick.
No worries.
Forgive me, it's taken us 2 hours for me to mention the G word, the dreaded Gutenberg word. For noddies like me, can you just explain the pros and cons of moving down this sort of method versus where Gutenberg apparently might be heading one day?
Currently, Gutenberg is just a content designer, so you can build internal content, and you've got very basic controls over all your modules, and this, with styling and stuff, whereas with Elementor or any other page builder, you have a lot more styling control over all your modules. At the moment, you can just insert an image and you have a couple of things for it, or title or text, whereas with a page builder, you have a lot more. But Gutenberg's whole thing will be moving on in the future to get better, to be more like a page builder. That's their ultimate goal. But at the moment, it's nothing in comparison with it, especially if you want to use it to build custom headers and footers and things like that. Gutenberg isn't really there yet for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There's a couple, yeah.
Go ahead.
G'day. How's it for accessibility?
Accessibility?
What's the output of it like with respect to
as far as I'm aware, it's pretty good. And Elementor have their own, the people who make Elementor Pojo have their own accessibility plugin that you can put together, and it will help be able to enlarge or make things smaller, and it works together to make Elementor a really good accessibility site. They've invented that for that reason. So you can type that in Google Accessibility Elementor and you'll see a whole blog post on their blog about it.
Screen readers?
Yeah, they do work with that, yes. I've got my best mate's physically blind, and the best way I get to test my websites is I send him the link, get him to check it out, and he goes, I can't read this, you know, because he relies on that. And back in the day, he'd use JAWS on his Nokia mobile phone, but now he uses Apple have their own built-in dictation, and it just scrolls through the website and it'll read everything out. And he speeds up his website. You can't even hear what it's saying. It's that fast when it talks because he's just so used to it. But yeah, they do definitely work with accessibility. And then we've got another question down the front here.
Thanks, Mick. Great presentation. Would I need the theme builder to change the overall structure of my site? And is that in the free or the paid version?
The pro version's theme builder, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So the free version enables, in the slides you'll see that the internal content of the page. So you can drag and drop and create the page content. But if you want to do the outside of that with headers and footers and all the templating and that I did to do this example, you need the pro version of Elementor.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyone else got questions? One in the middle.
Just continuing on the Gutenberg question, if I decide I want to stick with Gutenberg, can I still do the single page template and the custom fields and the custom post types as well?
Currently, I recommend to use Gutenberg to create posts for your blogs and use Elementor to style the website. So, and then if you ever want to move page builders, you can turn off Elementor and your website and the content will stay there, but the styling's all gone. And you can put a theme or change page builder in there. But the blog posts, if you don't build them with Elementor, they will all stay the same. Whereas if you build all the blog posts out with Elementor, you move, you're going to have to rebuild them all because they're just going to all go all flat. So, but the best thing about Elementor is it doesn't use shortcode, so you won't have to be like other page builders that leave all that in there as well, and you've got to clean all the content.
Thanks, Mick. We had a quick chat outside before.
Yeah, that's right.
Debate about themes and Elementor. I've tried a few. Have you got a preference? I mean, I know Elementor endorsed the Hello theme now.
Yep. And there's a difference between Hello theme and other themes. It's their bare bones, and if you still want to do things with it, it has very little styling and content in it. It's supposed to be just there's nothing in it. It's empty, and you need to kind of use Elementor Pro to make it work properly. And if you want to do WooCommerce, then you've got to kind of use CSS and code your own styling for that. Whereas if you use something like Astra or Ocean or those other themes everyone recommends to use Elementor with, it has all that crucial styling in there to be able to build upon. So if you're not quite savvy with doing custom coding and that, you're better off sticking with a more fuller, yeah. They're the two main ones that everyone raves about for Elementor.
So what's the investment with the Pro?
The Pro comes in 3 different licensing platforms, licensing tiers, whether you want 1 site, 3 sites, or 1,000. So it just depends. And 1,000 is like $200 US. And then you can build out all your client sites with that. But if you're just building one, it's like $80 or $90 don't quote me on that, but it's a lot cheaper.
Is that per year?
Yes, yeah.
And
So
you
it's
can
a yearly renewal.
multiple
And
sites.
if it runs out and you don't choose to renew, it will still continue to work, but you'll lose access to the cloud stuff. So like the templates that come with Elementor Pro, you won't have access to that, and you won't have access to updates, but it'll still continue to work and that unless you upgrade your code. Because we get those questions in the group all the time. What happens if I just buy it and then build it and then don't worry about renewing it? It will still continue to work, but down the track, like any other plugin, it will become obsolete or come with conflicts because it's not getting updated regularly. So it's best just to commit to it and then keep renewing it every year.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. We've got 2 there. How many more can we have?
We can probably squeeze in 2.
Okay.
What's the process for switching from a normal theme with a child theme to Elementor? Is that very complicated?
So you have to, depending on whether you've used a page builder or just a normal editor, will depend on the process. So if you're just using the WordPress editor, then you're still going to have, and a theme, you're still going to have to go through and rebuild things with your layouts and everything, but you've pretty much got to rebuild from scratch. Just depends on how it is, and there's so many ways of doing things, it's hard to give you a one-on-one unless I have a look at what you're doing now, and then we can work on a plan to move across if you want to do that. Then we have one up the back, there was one up the back there, that's the last one up the back there behind you.
Hi, I'm a client. I don't know a lot about the back-end side of things, so I just want to learn a little bit more. I've got a WordPress, I'm using WordPress. I know how to basically navigate it and work around it.
Yep.
But I do have a developer, and I just want to know if she's put in Elementor, but I've also got WP Bakery, and I've got Gutenberg, and I'm just wondering, is that slowing down my WordPress?
It can do a lot of different things.
Sorry, basic question.
It depends on whether they're using WP Bakery or whether she's built at the same time as Elementor, or if she's put it in there and then decided to go with Elementor. So the only way to find out exactly what's going on with your website is to hook up with me in the hallway, and we'll have a look at your website, and I'll show you what's going on there. I'll walk you through what she's done or they've done.
Excellent, thanks.
Any quick last questions?
Anyone?
Quickly, we're beating room 2, so we've got maybe a minute or 2.
Thanks for this great introduction. Just the comment about WP Bakery. Do you have any recommendations about not using that with Elementor, or because I'm not familiar with Elementor, but I have used WP Bakery before.
If you're using WP Bakery and you want to move to Elementor, you can leave WP Bakery there and then build everything new in Elementor, but you can't just swap them over and they'll just work. And Bakery or whatever that you're using that has shortcodes, you've got to go through and clean all that out because it will just all be sitting there. Everything has shortcodes in it, and so you've got to go through all your content you've created for each page, remove all them, and then look at building them out again in Elementor. Okay? You can't move them, it's just a basically rebuild of a site again. There's no easy way of migrating.
Okay, thank you very much, Mick.
Thanks for coming along, guys. And just to point out, the hallway track tomorrow at 10 o'clock is just a one-on-one, like a group meetup sort of thing. Come along, have a chat. If you've got any more personal questions or you're having trouble with something, show me your laptop and we'll work it out. And you get to meet the people who run the Sydney meetup as well. That's starting in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. So now we've got morning tea out in that direction in the lounge kitchenette area outside room 2. We've also got a hallway track for anyone that's new to Wordcamp and want to find out more about what it's about or meet other new people to Wordcamp. Find Will, he's in a green shirt. He's going to be outside in the morning tea area also.